In fact, 22 million households report not having the ability to pay next month's rent, and millions will be faced with evictions for past month's missed payments unless Congress acts. This is a potential catastrophe, and that's why Senate Democrats, including Senator Warren and Van Hollen and Senator Brown, who's been leading the effort but couldn't be with us today, but is leading efforts on the Senate floor on this issue tomorrow, and our other leaders on the Banking Committee and elsewhere have introduced bills that would provide an extension of the protections and the rental assistance necessary to keep people in their homes. You throw someone out of their home, their whole life gets disrupted. Their health gets worse, their job opportunities get worse, their kids' educational abilities get worse. Housing is fundamental, and it has been ripped by this COVID crisis. Now, Leader McConnell and Senate Republicans have blocked introduction of our bills, refusing to act on the House-passed HEROES bill passed more than 2 months ago. And they insisted only on a 3-month pause while they, quote, assess the conditions in the country, and that's their words. Well, their dithering and delay has brought us to this moment. We're about to see these critical protections expire. If they hadn't dithered, if they had sat down with us, Speaker Pelosi and I sent McConnell a letter 3 weeks ago, and let's sit down and sit down and talking. We wouldn't be here. We already had an affordable housing crisis that disproportionately affected black and brown families before the global pandemic forced people out of work. And Leader McConnell wants to say how he's going to watch how this plays out. Well, it seems that Senate Republicans have finally felt the heat. And now they're saying we should do another bill in the next few weeks. But after months of waiting, Senate Republicans can't even agree on a plan. They're in total disarray, in conflict with each other and the administration on a path forward. One of the priorities Republicans do seem to agree on is what Leader McConnell has been clamoring about for weeks, that protecting corporations is their #1 priority. 1 in 5 renters face an eviction, and McConnell can't stop talking about the pandemic of lawsuits. We're having a looming eviction crisis, and by all accounts, Republicans are preparing a bill that won't keep families in their homes. We know evictions and unpaid bills can have serious and long-term effects on households, and more than 40% of Black and Latinx renters report they're unlikely to make the rent in the next pay period. Getting evicted can cause damage to a family's finances, and eviction records take years to repair. Without rental assistance, more people will experience housing instability or homelessness, putting their health and everything else at risk. What do my colleagues, my Republican colleagues, have to say to these individuals? You lose your job through no fault of your own, this crisis. You're about to be evicted from your house, again through no fault of your own. What does McConnell say? I want to help the corporate big boys on K Street? Bye-bye. We don't need you. Awful. Many of the people out of I'm always ahead of what my staff writes, so not always, sometimes. If we pass emergency rental assistance and extend the evictions moratorium, we'd help families and individuals pay the bills, stay in their homes, stabilize the rental market, and help owners keep up with their property taxes and mortgages. So once again, I say to Leader McConnell, to Senate Republicans, work with us to get something done. Begin bipartisan talks. It's the only way to pass a bill and to provide people the help they desperately need. Senate Democrats will not stop fighting. Senator Warren.
Thank you, Mr. Leader. So I want to start by thanking our leader who has been instrumental in trying to put together help for families that are struggling, and Senator Van Hollen. We've worked together because we are just days away from a housing crisis that could be prevented if Mitch McConnell stops stalling and the Senate acts. This is about our health, our economy, and our values. Forcing thousands of people out of their homes during a pandemic will make a public health crisis worse. Widespread housing disruptions will also affect essential workers and others who are keeping our economy going. And a wave of evictions will hit communities of color the hardest, further deepening racial inequities in our nation. So first, how bad is this problem? More than 30% of all renters say today that they have little or no confidence they can make their next. More than 40% of Black and Latinx renters aren't sure they'll be able to make their next rent payment. Nearly 2/3 of renters who are not confident about making their rent earn less than $35,000 a year. And more than a quarter of Black and Latinx renters couldn't pay last month's rent or had it deferred. Think about that. That's 1 in every 4 Black or Latino renters who are already behind on their rent. And to add to that, the high unemployment rate, the number of workers across the country who have had their hours and income cut, and the number of small businesses that have shuttered and may never reopen. And it's clear that the number of evictions will continue to rise. Experts are predicting an avalanche of evictions if we don't institute new protections. We are already seeing a rise in evictions in cities where local eviction bans have lapsed. This is a crisis we can avoid. Instead of further delay and denial, the Senate can step up now and prevent this catastrophe before millions of people are forced out of their homes. Representative Chuy Garcia and I introduced the Protecting Renters from Evictions and Fees Act. This bill protects renters from losing their housing if they lose their job or have their hours cut during this crisis and can't make their housing payment. The bill extends the federal eviction moratorium to last 1 year instead of expiring this week. That means that renters would be protected until March of 2021. It also makes the moratorium universal. Every renter will be protected, and every renter will know that they are protected. That's really important because right now, renters often don't know if they're covered by the federal moratorium, and they are still getting evicted. Our bill also makes sure that renters don't get hit with high fees or penalties if they need a few extra months to pay the rent. We also need Senator Brown's emergency rental assistance bill, which would help renters make payments that they've missed or future rent payments so they can remain stably housed and landlords can get their payments. Failing to put a safeguard in place to keep people in their homes is most likely to harm the most vulnerable Americans and to harm communities of color. It is critical that we act now. We cannot delay any longer. And with that, I will turn this over to Senator Van Hollen. It's all yours.
Thank you, Senator Warren. And to Leader Schumer, thank you for all your focus on people who are most at risk right now in our country. And largely because of the lack of action we've seen from Senator McConnell and Senate Republicans. To Senator Warren, thank you for those comments and everything else you're doing to address these issues. As both my colleagues have said, the clock is ticking. The seconds are winding down. In 2 days, the federal protections blocking evictions will expire. So what does that mean for the millions of Americans who are at home stretching to make ends meet? It means they're at risk. In fact, millions of Americans are now at risk of eviction. If you look around the country, this is a human catastrophe in the making. And the real tragedy here is it's 100% avoidable if we were to take action. Instead of action, Senator McConnell, I listened to his comments on the floor of the Senate the other day, he never mentioned it was over 2 months ago that Senator Warren and I, Senator Schumer and others joined Sherrod Brown in introducing the Emergency Rental Assistance and Rental Market Stabilization Act, $100 billion. Legislation is in the HEROES Act. Legislation is in the HEROES Act, which also was passed more than 2 months ago. So here we are counting down the minutes. We should never have been at this point where millions of American families a $75 billion homeowners assistance fund to help homeowners pay their mortgages and keep a roof over their head. So assistance for homeowners and assistance desperately needed for renters. That was 2 months ago. For God's sakes, it is gross negligence if we don't get this done now and help our fellow Americans in need. So thank you, Senator
I
Schumer.
thank both of my colleagues for their heartfelt and articulate comments. We'll take questions, a few questions. Yes, ma'am.
I have two questions, one for you, Leader Schumer, one for you, Senator Warren. Leader Schumer, did you discuss eviction protections during your meetings with Staff Meadows and
Yes.
yesterday, and did they seem receptive?
We did not get into negotiation. It was not on their list. It was on our list.
And Senator Warren, yesterday, Leader McConnell suggested that he would not put a bill on the floor that didn't include liability protections for businesses to reopen. Was wondering what your response to that would be.
We have a health crisis, an economic crisis, and a crisis in our values bearing down upon us, with millions of people about to lose their housing. And all Leader McConnell wants to talk about is how to protect giant corporations. That tells us where his values are, and it also tells us how wrong he is. People across this country, in blue states and red states, need protection, they need help. And Leader McConnell needs to hear from all of them.
Yes.
Leader Schumer, you said that you wanted to see bill text in Republicans.
I couldn't hear. Do you want to see
You said that you wanted
bill
to see
text?
bill
Yes.
text before making any comments about negotiations, but you kind of know what the Republicans' top lines are. Do you think that there's a starting point?
Well, the devil is in the details. They don't tell us what they want. What do they want to do on unemployment insurance? How low? How much are they going to cut? What are they going to do for schools? No, no, no. You can't negotiate until you have a detailed proposal, and particularly in light of the fact that they're not unified. We asked them yesterday, is this going to be something that the President and the Senate Republicans support? And they were not sure. Well, we can't first negotiate with Senate Republicans and then negotiate with the President. That doesn't make sense.
Sort of a follow-up to that, you talk about rental assistance, eviction protections, things like that that don't seem to be among their priorities right now. Based on what we are seeing in the Senate Republican bill, are you convinced that they even have the same view of the scope of the problem?
They don't.
as the Democrats?
They do not have the view of the scope. When Mitch McConnell says a month ago, when 20 million people are out of work, 25 million people are out of work, that millions of businesses are going under, let's assess the situation, that says they're out of touch. They're so in lockstep to Donald Trump, who's one of the main reasons, probably the main reason the crisis is as bad as it is, and so enthralled by the business leadership, which cares about protecting themselves from all liability, and his bill there is way over the top, They're out of touch. This is the greatest economic crisis in 75 years, the greatest health crisis in 100 years. McConnell goes to the floor today, doesn't mention them, and talks about the New York Times and cancel culture. All they want to do is feed meat to the right wing, red meat. Okay, thank you, you want one more? Go ahead.
May I have one more on,
Yes, you may.
in the CARES Act, there's funding for states regarding their elections, with many states trying to shift to
Yes.
primarily mail-in voting.
Mhm.
If that's not part of this Senate bill, do you anticipate that Congress will pass something to help states?
Look, it's very important for us to keep it in this bill, and it's one of our very high priorities.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Stay healthy.
We're trying.
Stay safe. Put those masks on.
Here's the second vote. Oh, here's the second vote.
Okay.
NG